This fight requires you to play more. This fight is not about how good you are. This fight requires you to play more. This fight requires way more consistency than any other ultimate you ever proc. I ever proc at least. And I am glad to say that, you know, despite clearing early, I feel like this was the hardest ultimate. I don't dare to say that very often because I'm scared that I'm putting this ultimate on the pedestal. Oh, you are just saying it because you want to hype it up. Oh, you are saying this because you want to make your clear feels more impressive, dedicated. You know, you spend 16 hours a day, you raid 11 days, 10 days, 11 days. So obviously you're gonna say that it's hard, right? Otherwise, honestly speaking, I think you are just trash Arthars. I think your group is just shit. You are just pretending to say that it's hard. I don't dare to say it. I don't dare to say it. So I was just like watching quietly, watching everybody's reaction. And then after watching most of them, I realized that I wasn't wrong. This is the hardest ultimate. Because when I look at Xeno, the relief. When I look at Momo, the relief. Except Violent. I look at Defina, the relief. I look at Pharaoh, the relief. I look at Whoops, his relief. I look at Happy, his relief. I look at Rin, his relief. Like, every group, the tweet, their reaction, they all think that this was a long journey. They all think that this was very miserable. They all think that it felt really good that they finally get a clear. Everybody was happy they get a clear. The tweets, the people, those people who didn't stream their tweet, you know, this was one of the hardest ultimate. Mechanically, none of this mechanic is that difficult to break down. None of these phases felt like they were impossible to do. None of these phases feel like, if you pluck out every one of these phases and you compare to every one of the other ultimate phase, I think they are all simply either comparable or similar. I don't think Living Liquid is easier or harder than this first phase. I don't think any of these trio was harder or easier than any of the UCOP trio. But I feel like the tempo and the timings that they introduced a specific mechanic was what make it harder to proc and what makes it needs more consistent. For example, the Death of the Heavens. The Death of the Heavens is a very unforgiving mechanic to learn, right? This trio, right? Like this phase, I think it's a tutorial. This phase is not that fun. This phase is actually probably the most boring phase in the fight, which comes as a no surprise because it's the first phase. So obviously it's gonna be the easiest. Obviously it's gonna be the most boring. It's like Living Liquid. You go through Living Liquid again. It's like you go through Garuda again. You go through Ifrit again, right? It's the tutorial part. It's the boring part. You do Nail, you do Twintania, it's the boring part. I don't think this trio is harder than any other trio. I think that it's just the beginning of the fight, and I think that is the tutorial. This Earthquake mechanic is the biggest troll. Anybody who done this phase the first time, I can tell you that Earthquake kills you. Everybody doesn't know the timing properly the very first time, even though they watch the video, even though they have the guide. People don't have the muscle memory to do the Earthquake properly. This Earthquake is a troll. It's a troll. This ultimate is partly defined by this Earthquake. This shit was extremely difficult the first time you do the Death of the Heavens. This mechanic is very straightforward. There's only one way to do this mechanic. It's a good introduction to the trio. Now this second one I thought was really good. Actually, I think this second trio is really good. This second trio is literally Heaven's Fall, but harder Heaven's Fall. Longer than Heaven's Fall as well, because they also have the plunge mechanic, the eye mechanic, which is again tutorial again. This trio is so well done, I think. This trio is one of the best trio I think they ever done. You know, the first time I did Vault, and then we go back to the Vault just to study the mechanics, just to like see, yo, what you know, what are gonna add it, what are they gonna throw into this ultimate? This ultimate obviously is gonna have the trio knight. This ultimate is gonna obviously have parts that we fight the knights. Let me tell you, this circle balls, this shit is very overwhelming the first time. And also given that in phase 1, the very first time you see all the boss traveling around, and then they have the portals that also interact with the boss. So if the boss is near the portal, it will also cause the explosion. When I saw these balls again in this phase, I was like, oh my god, this is gonna take a while. Because until you figure out this pattern, again, all these mechanics, if you do them after you've seen the video, or if you do them after you got a guide, this is very easy. But let me tell you, the first time you see this phase, the first time you see these balls, the first time you see all these telegraphs, although you can see the safe spot, you catch a glimpse of the safe spot, you don't exactly know how to do it immediately. And on top of that, you got these plungers happening at the same time that you need people to share with. So literally, if one guy get hit by those balls in proc or at the beginning, it's over. One birdie got eye, got hysteria, one birdie, somebody go to the wrong way, one person get hit by the ball, this plunge is gonna kill the party. This part is actually not easy. That first part is actually not easy. I don't think people truly understand the terror of this mechanic the first time you see it. How overwhelming this first part was. Now, luckily enough, this part only take 1 minute to get to. We can like very quickly get back here, gather information, and then go again, you know? And then on top of that, it's the same phase as this mechanic over here. Dude, this one took us so long to figure out, man. This one took us so long to figure out. A lot of group got stuck in this phase for a long time. This is one of the better trio trio in this fight, and this was one of the best trio they made in all Ultimate. But because it's early in the fight, a lot of practice opportunity, unlike Heaven's Fall, which is like 9 minutes in, unlike Suppression, which is 9 minutes in, unlike Wormhole, that's 9 minutes in, you can practice this every 2 minutes. I'm surprised nobody talk about this. Because when you are blind progging this shit was hard to figure out, man. Who the fuck do you decide the tower? What do you do with the meteors? Which direction do you put the meteors? Eventually, who take which tower? There's so many organization you need. Like, I think a lot of people don't understand. This trio was a nightmare. I want to know how Neverland, how long they took, and how Neverland came out to do this consistently. I want to know, but nobody asked. Nobody say anything about this trio. I feel like this trio is very, very, very underappreciated. This trio is very well done. How do you do it without anti-knockback? I want to find a strat without anti-knockback. I wouldn't say it's impossible, but I would say definitely it's a challenge. You see, we will never get a chance to talk to Mr. Ozma. If I get a chance to talk to him, I will ask him, yo, Mr. Ozma, for this specific trio, did you expected us to use arm's length? Did you design this with arm's length? Or will Mr. Ozma come out to say, you know what? When I watched you guys stream, I was surprised that all of you used the arm's length because I thought you guys would do it the way I thought it should be done. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? But we will never know. We will never know. Remember Nisi the very first time? We did Nisi. Oh, I'm sorry. We didn't even do Nisi. And then they forced us to do Nisi in T. So it's like there is a few things, right? They didn't expect us to do. They let it slide. But then the next time they fucking come back and they make you have to do it properly. You remember that? So I feel like maybe, just maybe, there is a non-arm's length way, the actual way, the proper way that Mr. Ozma wants us to do, and then we outsmart him, and then he's gonna punish us next time. Oh, you know what? Mr. Ozma, punish me. You can punish me all day, every day, Mr. Ozma. The next ultimate, whoever is making it, you better punish me hard. I want to be punished hard. Harder. The next ultimate. Okay, anyway, spend too much time on this trio. The fact that he put 7 meteors, he counted, he calculated, he included every single possible pattern. He made sure that you can squeeze 7 meteors in, and also he made the curves. Again, I don't know whether this is the intended way, but this is the way we did it anyway. There are some tighter patterns, and then there are some really tight patterns. The tightest pattern, I done it one time. I managed to squeeze all 7 in. I actually did it one time. It was doable. And then obviously, like I show you guys this on my JP static.
我试过。
The fact that you can also do stuff like this, Mr. Ozma calculated this. He perfectly crafted this trio. It is very specific. It was very elaborate. It was done in many different ways. And you know what? This is the reason why I think there is a way to do this mechanic another way. That's why I think there is another way to this mechanic. If you can fit all here, you can also fit all the other side. There has to be a way. 1, 2, 3, 4. He could not squeeze 4 more in here. This is why I think there is another way. Yeah, this is a very good trio. I like this trio a lot. I'm surprised this part they didn't let you get knocked back. You know, they like to do this ultimate end with a stupid knockback, right? But you know, during the knockback you can't hit Torden. I think it will be such a troll if they let you get knocked back and then you have to keep going back to hit him, you know? And then I'm telling you, the casters were more. I feel they should do that. Fuck it. It's an ultimate. They should have done that. I thought this is also a very nice touch. When I first time see this face, I was like, yay, home stretch. Yay. We can see the next phase free. I didn't expect they make a fucking extra flare out of this slash, you know? It's a troll move, right? But okay, this phase is one of the hardest phase in every ultimate. I don't care what people say, oh, this phase is easy once you get it. Oh, this phase is chill. I don't care. Collectively, for a 8-man static, this phase is one of the hardest phase ever. What makes this phase difficult? This phase requires all 8 people to learn 3 different patterns plus 2 different patterns within the 3 different patterns. So this phase requires all 8 members to be able to identify and execute 6 different patterns. Now, these 6 different patterns, luckily, is not crazy where there are 6 completely different patterns. It's 3 similar patterns with a little bit of tuning within the patterns. Does that make sense? So if you get number 1, 2, 3, you have to do a specific set. Now, obviously, you can only get 1, 2, or 3, which that means that you only have to do 3 different patterns. And then within the 3 different patterns, you either get don't need to move, the circle pattern, or you get the arrow pattern, which then means that you are still standing at the exact same spot, except you're facing a different direction. Instead of standing there and hit the boss, if you got the back one, you need to 2 to 1 second, you have to turn around. Now, that was before bug. I will talk about the bug later. So this phase is like a mini wormhole. Wormhole require you to remember 8 unique patterns. This one require you to remember 3 unique patterns plus 2 different mini patterns within the 3 unique patterns. Wormhole would take an average group 1 or 2 days to learn. This one will take you 1 day. And it did. Oh, that's not true, Arthars. My group got it done with 3 pulls. Yeah, your group got 1 really lucky pattern that all of you are fucking comfortable with. And then you guys got it 1 time out of 5. That's not what I call consistent proc. Most group take 1 day in this phase to be able to consistently get it past 8 to 9 times out of 10. Now, we are really lucky. This phase only happened 3 minutes in. So we can practice this very fast, very quickly. This is the only phase for me. For me, again, I speak for myself. For me, I have the full focus. If I take my eye off or I take my thought off, if I look at Twitch chat for 1 second and talk to you guys, I will fuck up this mechanic. This shit is not easy. And for anybody out there progging this fight, whether you are doing it mid-core or you are doing it casual, don't get demoralized getting stuck in this phase. This is gonna be one of the hardest, if not the hardest, the longest time you will spend in this whole fight. But because you can get to this phase really fast, and because you're gonna be doing this phase so many times, once you get it, once all 8 players get the 3x2 patterns down, this phase will naturally just become very easy. But if you take your focus off for a second, you are dead, okay? If you take a second off, you are dead, okay? This phase is quite unforgiving, but luckily, it's at the very beginning of the fight. This is an 8-man execution. This is not a 1-man execution. When you got that one static member that tells you, oh man, you guys need to back up, man, I already can do this, tell him to shut the fuck up. This is not about you. This is about the party. This is not about you. Some people got more things to do. Some jobs have a specific pattern in this phase that you just absolutely hate and you just absolutely find it very difficult to execute. Some patterns are way too easy. Number 3 for me is the best one. Number 2 is the easiest to screw up because you will forget to take a tower. Because number 2, you just do nothing for a while and then suddenly you have to do everything. Number 1, you got the left-right flank that usually people use it to take the number 2 tower, and then number 1 got the last, the middle number 1 where you have to take the last set of towers. So it's like a little bit trappy, Number 1 can be a little bit trappy. Sometimes you forget. Yeah. South 1 is a trap. Yeah. This phase is nice. This phase is nice. This phase is very good. And this phase is only 2 minutes. Thank God this phase is only 2 minutes. You know, so far, all these phases are so good and require so much consistency. Dude, we are talking about less than 5 minutes in. Think about it, it's a 19 minutes fight. 5 minutes in, they require you to have so much focus and so much consistency already. The meteor into this phase was a mindfuck, man. If you can do this phase, you got the mental capacity to do the rest of the fight. It's just whether you can keep it up for 19 minutes. This tower is a victory lap for this phase, but this tower can also be quite trappy because some tower pattern actually require you to number 1 open your fucking eyeball and number 2 to actually communicate. This tether, you know, a lot of people think it's just fucking tether mechanics, right? This tether is not your P3S tether. This tether is not your P4S tether. These tethers are random in very spaced out quadrant where they are random which they come out from, and depends on the tower pattern and how you organize your stack, your tanks might not be in a comfortable position to take tethers. There are certain situations that you actually have to exchange tether. Can you take this off me so that I can take this off him? You cannot do it like a random tether. Oh, I got this one already. Oh fuck, I have to travel around to take this, and then on top of that, the guys have to bait the thing. And then you have to take into consideration that on the last second panic, you don't kill someone with it. It is easy, but it's not free. This is Mr. Ozma setting trap within a trap. This is Mr. Ozma fucking with your mind. Guys, this is not a hard mechanic. If anything, this is probably one of the easiest mechanic in this whole fight. Except it's not that brain dead as you think. Yeah, you will feel really bad. Dying here makes you feel really bad. Again, you might sound like I'm giving Mr. Ozma too much credit, right? But I'm just evaluating, I'm just breaking down this fight, how I feel compared to the other ultimate. There's just so much thought put into it. Now, I'm not saying that the other ultimate didn't have a lot of thought, but this one is, these are little things that what makes this fight overall. Again, I'm not talking about singular, I'm not comparing about this mechanic is easy, that mechanic is hard, this mechanic is easier than this mechanic is easier than that, this trio is harder than this fight overall, technically speaking, is not that hard. You know, this phase is not hard, that phase is not hard, S phase is not hard, last phase is not hard, Death of the Heaven is not hard. If Death of the Heaven is the first mechanic, it's easy. If this Asthenian phase is the last phase, we are fucked. If Golden Torrent is first phase, is the S phase is second phase. Everything is easy. Everything's easy. If you have a private server, if you have a simulator, and you can run every single phase by its own, it's easy. But it's the way he lines it up, where he requires you to have what amount of focus and consistency. Is the combination, the design, the packaging is what makes this whole ultimate so difficult. This is one of the most relaxing phase. They already give you all the information you need already. When you do Nidhogg EX, they already give you all the information you need already regarding this phase. Blue chain, absorb, red chain, damage. So they already give you all the information you need prior doing this phase already. That's why this phase is only 1 minute. But let me tell you, the genius about this phase is how Mr. Ozma can literally take a pair of balls and make it into an ultimate phase. When you're progging it, it's tight. It's not a simple DPS check. You are only given your 1 minute here. You do not have a burst. You do not have a 2-minute CD alignment. You are strictly only working with mostly your individual 1 minute here. You know, you need your 2 minutes in the next phase. We don't want you to use your 2 minutes here. So obviously the DPS check can't be hard, but we make the DPS check hard enough while you do somewhat similar mechanic. And because it's simple, it's just 1 minute. Phase, they already tell you the basic mechanic in Nidhogg EX already. So there's no need for this mechanic to build up. There's no need for them to, you know, first 30 seconds, they do this one mechanic. And then after that, 1 minute in another mechanic. And then second minute combined. And then the third minute, everything. No, right? This phase is just strictly 1 minute. Cut the bullshit. You already know what you know. We're just gonna throw some different shit at you and then you just deal with it, right? I thought it was interesting how 2 balls can be an ultimate phase. It's nice also that there's a reason why you want to take the balls when they are bigger, so that you can inflict the most damage to the red chain. You can take it early, but then you just don't do much damage. You survive, but then you don't meet the DPS check. So it's like a DPS check, but not about how you press the buttons.